Each time I cut through the nerve, it was almost like I was going to pass out. And I was screaming. Each time I would cut through one, I would scream as loud as I could. I mean, that was pain. I mean, let me tell you, that was the worst pain I've ever felt. The farm is 50 acres. It's our hobby. Right now we grow corn here and we hunt and fish. Beautiful morning. It was warm, sunshiny day. I knew it was only going to take a couple hours to pick the load of corn. The corn picker hooks to the back of the farm tractor. And on the back of the corn picker, you pull a trailer. And the corn picker, you pull it down each row of corn, and it actually takes the ear of corn off the stalk. As the ear of corn goes through the machine, it takes the shuck off the corn. And then the corn is dropped into an elevator. The elevator shoots it back into the wagon. I'd already picked a load of corn. Trailer was loaded. I was headed up to the barn to store it into the barn. I walked around to the corn picker, cleaning it off, cleaning the shucks off. Just a lot of trash and stuff had built up on the picker. I noticed underneath of it was a corn stalk stuck up under the bottom of the corn picker. I could not pull it out. I mean, I tried pulling it out, couldn't get it out. Everything is moving now. I walk back to the corn picker, stick my arm inside, grab the stalk, and as I was pulling on the stalk, the rollers that take the shucks off the corn grabbed my glove, and it pulled my hand up into the rollers. At that time I was trapped. I thought, man, what a big dummy, sticking my hand into this machine, rolling and operating, and I started pulling my hand out. I couldn't get my hand out. The steel rollers just continue cutting into the back of my hand. My hand's bleeding. It's probably swollen up 3 times as big as it should be. I'm thinking, man, I am big time trouble. So I started hollering. I sat there and just hollered as loud as I could. The road's about a quarter of a mile through the woods, and I was hoping somebody may be walking up the road that would hear me and would come in. But no one heard me. The whole time I was having to hold my hand in a certain position. It's continued bleeding. The whole time it's still bleeding. The back of the hand was down to the bone. I mean, just all the meat on the back of the hand was gone. I always thought once I jammed that machine that I could just pull my hand right out. I wouldn't have to worry about the rollers continue pulling my hand. Then I started taking parts off of the back of the corn picker. Probably took 10 or 15 minutes of working to get that rod off. But I knew that was the only thing left. I didn't have anything else left to reach in order to jam the machine. I said, I've got to do something different. Jamming these rollers is not working. Because I had pushed and pushed and pushed with that big piece of metal, and it wasn't doing anything. So that's when I grabbed the rod, I didn't even try to put it in from the top. I said, I've got to go into the side. I knew there was some gears and a chain over there, and I knew if I could jam it up against the tire that was on the side of the machine, that might jam the machine. So I took the rod and reached around to the left side, but I dropped the rod and almost got my finger. I felt the gears go over top of my tips of my fingers. Now I had to struggle to reach and feel around on the ground to find the rod. I found the rod and tried it again, and this time it worked. I put it in perfect spot, jammed it up against the tire, and now the rollers quit rolling. The whole machine was sitting there just jerking from the gears being jammed up in it. I had my knees up against the machine, took my left hand and grabbed hold of my right forearm and pulled. I mean, I pulled. I'm a pretty good sized guy, so I was putting a lot of pressure on it and pulling, and it wouldn't come off. So I thought then I needed to, maybe my gloves were hung up there, and I was thinking I needed to cut my glove off. I knew I had my pocket knife. I reached in my pocket, and it's about 2.5, 3 inch long knife, and I was able to get it open with my left hand and reach back in there and started cutting away on the gloves. I thought there was gloves, but it was actually cutting my fingers. Each time I would get one loose, I would pull my hand to try to pull my hand out of there. It still wasn't working. Still couldn't get my hand loose. I was in a hurry. I knew I had to get loose, and it seemed like it was just seconds. Once I cut through, I was able to pull the nubs of my fingers up and straighten them up to where all I had to do is pull my hand down. And that's when the fire broke out. The flames were shooting around the machine. It was burning my hair, singeing my hair. The wind was blowing toward me. All those flames was coming toward me, and all I thought about was just I wasn't going to die there. There's no way I was going to die. I grabbed my pocket knife, and that's when I jammed the knife into my forearm and started cutting the meat away. Each time I cut through the nerve, it was almost like I was going to pass out. And I was screaming. Each time I would cut through one, I would scream as loud as I could. I mean, that was pain. I mean, let me tell you, that was the worst pain I've ever felt. To break the bone, I had to raise up as high as I could, and then I dropped to the ground with all my weight. And I knew I only had seconds because the fire was continuing getting bigger. I was going so quick. I was in hyper mode. Once it burned close enough to the air pressure, the tire just exploded. It exploded, and it was such a big explosion. At the same time I broke the bone in my right arm, it was able to push me out of the fire, out of the flames about 5 feet. So I jumped up and thinking, I'm free. Finally, I'm free. And now I got to get help. I jumped into my truck, continued on up to the main road, which is about a quarter of a mile from the tractor. Got up to the road, and I stopped and let the cars go by. And as the cars went by, I was waving at them, blowing the horn, waving my arm at them, and there was blood shooting all over the windshield and all over the dashboard. So people were going by and not stopping. I pulled my truck out into the middle of the road and thought to myself, if I die, I'm going to die right here, or somebody's either going to hit me or help me. One of the people who had drove around me the first time had went up about a quarter of a mile to top the hill and turned around, and he came back. When he arrived, I was sitting in the middle of the road. He said, "Hey man, you okay?" And I said, "No." I raised my arm up. It was squirting blood. And I said, "No, I think I need a little help." And Doug jumps back and says, "Oh." And then all of a sudden his face just like blood red, and then he started sweating. At that point he jumps back, says, "Man, don't move." He runs to his truck, gets his paramedic bag, and starts packing these bandages on my arm, stopping the bleeding. He was talking to the 911 lady to get in the ambulance, and he said, "Hey, we need a chopper in here too. This guy's in serious condition. He's starting to turn gray. We may lose him here." I had, of course, my arm cut off 2 inches above the elbow. 3rd-degree burns underneath my arm here all the way back to my shoulder. I had 3rd-degree burns on my left hand and fingers. And I had 4th-degree burns on my right leg right above my knee here. And that was all the way down to the bone. We had 6 surgeries all total. Everything was skin grafted back and healing good. When I first saw my wife after the tube was taken out of my throat, it was after a surgery, and I woke up. I was on a lot of painkillers. I was in a lot of pain, but she was holding my hand and kept telling me everything was going to be okay. And she stayed there for 3.5 weeks by my side. I survived because I didn't want to die. I had too much to live for. I have a great family, very positive family. I have a great farm here. I had a great job, and I didn't want to die. I truly didn't want to die.